This is Melanie from my community, one of my female role models, and I'm going to interview her today. So the first question is, what was it like for you being both Indigenous and female growing up?
So, I used to get into a lot of fights and stuff at school in elementary. I went to South Devon. And then when we got to Devon, again, because it's the same group of people going on, we always I just guess we didn't get along very well at that time, right? And then when I got to high school, it was all right there, but you just kind of felt, you still I hung out with my people, my friends from St. Mary's.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I can remember all through high school thinking, I don't want to graduate because there's nothing out there for me, right? So that's how I thought, that there was nothing out there. And then probably finally in about end of grade 11, I started seeing posters of Aboriginal people, of like women being nurses and doctors and like going on. So that kind of motivated me to change that thinking of, why am I still in high school? Because I think I was like 21 still.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So next question is, what is your role in the community?
So right now I work in mental health and addictions at the health center. And my main role is program planning. So I do a lot of cultural programs. I do a lot of youth programs too. We do yearly hunting trips, canoe trips, and cultural activities.
Well, the next question is, can you please list a couple traditions that you have taken part in and why we do these traditions?
Yeah.
And what you get out of these experiences?
So those, I just said a couple of stuff that we do with the youth and stuff, but I also, this was pre-COVID, twice a year we had elder gatherings, or elder ceremonies. So we had like Alma come in,
Mm-hmm.
and then she did some teachings with some community members. We had Mi'kmaq. She's a Aboriginal lady from Espanoliage, and so she did some different ceremonies too.
Oh,
Yeah, so we
nice.
just get a lot of different teachings and stuff. And right now we're doing one with Ramona Nicholas from Tobic,
Mm-hmm.
and she's teaching us, like, so our first session was 2 weeks of smudging and stuff and medicines. So she is starting from the beginning, talking about the medicines and stuff and why we do them. So she's just giving everybody like the intro, because I noticed a lot of people, even elders and older people, are afraid to smudge because they don't know how to properly do it.
Mm-hmm.
So she's teaching us right from the beginning and
Wow,
what
that's
medicines we
amazing.
use. Yeah.
Because some people don't even know we do the traditions, but we just...
Yeah.
The next question is, what does respect mean to you?
Respect. I believe respect goes both ways, to everybody. So if you want respect, then you need to give it. And I've realized in my role now as a mental health and addictions worker, I respect everybody in the community, even if we've had bad past and stuff, because my role, right? So I have to, because I'm here to help everybody. So I have to respect them and where they're at and stuff. So.
And everyone goes through their own battles, right?
Right.
The next question is, how has residential schools affected you?
I don't really know if residential school has affected me personally, because my great-grandmother, I don't know if she did go to residential school, but I know that there was a disconnection there from her to my grandmother, and then, it just came down to, I just see the parenting skills are not as strong there, so it's kind of been passed down from my great-grandmother to my mother, right? So it's like more or less kids were seen and not heard.
Yeah,
right?
It's a intergenerational trauma when it's getting passed down throughout the generations.
Yeah. So, but I don't know if I don't know if she went to residential school. I just know that she was kind of absent. So that came from my great-grandmother. Yeah.
The next question is, do you have any fluent speakers left in your family?
Not fluent, no.
Not fluent?
No. and I'm just in the Maliseet language course.
Trying to
To
regain that
regain
knowledge,
that,
right?
yep.
The next question is, what do you think of missing and murdered Indigenous women and the cause?
I fully support that.
Do you feel like we're still the minority
Yeah,
out of the majority, and that
Yeah.
we get a less media attention than we should?
yeah, because I see all the time in the media, like, you know, they'll have it up there that somebody's missing, like an Aboriginal woman is missing, and then it kind of fades away. But when they have a non-Aboriginal person missing, it's like up, it's on longer. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah. So,
And
yeah,
especially with like all the missing children that went to the residential schools and they weren't even acknowledged, or they were forgotten
Yeah.
until we found their bones.
yeah, it's like it didn't even happen. If they didn't find the bones, it's like it didn't happen, right? So,
Any guidance or advice you would like to share to all the female Indigenous women in the community or in the world?
the biggest advice that I could share is to be proud of who you are, stand tall, and don't let anybody try to bring you down.
Zoom in real quick on the hat. And how important is it to keep our traditions and cultures alive? Well, our traditions and culture alive, and why?
I personally, I feel that it's a big part of who we are, and like, so just by me, like I got into ceremonies and stuff later, and then, you know, I've always felt an emptiness inside of myself. But once I started getting involved in like cultural activities and ceremonies and stuff like that, it just brought more meaning. I don't know if it was more meaning, but it just filling a
Made you
void.
feel whole.
Yeah, like
again.
it's feeling something inside myself, because so I've been sober now for over 20 years, and I lost myself.
Mm.
And then once I came back, like once I quit drinking and stuff, and then I get back into going into the cultural activities and I felt more of a sense of myself.
And it's
And a
healing.
connection. Yeah.
I find.
Yep.
Like when I'm in sweat lodges, I'm crying like a baby.
Yeah.
And honestly, I feel like it does take a lot for our community, like our members, like to realize how important our traditions are and how it can help us find ourselves, so we don't feel so lost all the
Yeah.
time. And we don't realize that until a later date, or sometimes until it's too late.
Yeah. Because I know too, like so as Aboriginal people are, we have different, like women and men have different responsibilities, right? To keep everything. So you always seen that the men were, I know it kind of sounds like a stereotype, but it's not, because the men did all the hunting,
Mhm.
right? So they did the hunting and they kept everybody safe and stuff. And the women were at home and they were like processing the meat that the men came, right? They got, right? So there's a role in that, in our traditions and stuff, for everybody. And even some women, like they said that some women, I got this from an elder, but they said that we weren't born as female and male.
Mm-hmm.
We were given that thing, our gender, when as we were growing up, because it would see where we like where we went towards.
Mm.
So right, so if you went towards hunting and fishing, right, that's the
Mhm.
male, right, because we're two spirits.
Yep, two spirits.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, and then
And-
the female, like, so that's, we were never given like a boy and a girl. It's like, it's that role that you,
Gender neutral,
Yeah.
whatever you prefer.
yeah, so
Which is nice.
Yeah, so they said that it was based on which skills or which area you went towards.
And then what about like you're not supposed to cut your hair? When you cut your hair when someone passes, right? Do you know the story about
I
that
never
one?
heard that one yet. No,
And then there's what was it?
but I know because of the when they were when that young boy got his hair cut off, and I was watching the dad and the mom talk about it. Excuse me, they were just talking about that. it's a connection to, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a connection to the earth, because you're,
I heard you were supposed to, whenever you braid someone's hair, you're supposed to put prayers into it. That's sweet too. I
Yeah.
didn't know that. I'm
Yeah.
learning all kinds of stuff
Yeah.
today, and that's
Yeah.
the thing, right? And
Yeah.
that's what's important.
And that's, see, and I'm going on 50, right? So I'm learning all this stuff. But if we can start teaching the younger generation, right? Like I'm thinking back in like kindergarten, but keep it going from like kindergarten on, because then that helps these kids to get a sense of who they are.
It
And
does.
to be proud of who they are.
And I feel like there is still a lot of stereotypes. Like, I know growing up, we did have that. We had the Chief Herald where I grew up, and I said the morning prayers to the Creator and all that. And then we went to middle school, and I did the same. I stuck with my crowd, my people, and then when I got to high school, I felt like an outcast, like I didn't belong. And then, but there is still like those programs, but I don't know.
We got to keep them going. They got to be. There has to be more.
I feel like not just only our people should be educated, but everyone.
Yeah.
And especially, like, when did you ever even learn about residential schools in the school? No, right?
Growing up, it's like, so I went to a school in St. John once, and when we were in social studies, the first day we were talking about Indians, because that's what we were called back. Well, we're still called, but the Indians and stuff, and of Canada. Anyways, it's like, oh, maybe you would like to share some thoughts, and you would like to share something with us, or stories and stuff, and it's like, no.
Yeah.
And then when we had our we had phys ed class, and we were doing bow and arrows, and they're like, oh, you should be good at this. Like, you know what I mean? And they thought we still lived in like teepees and rode horses and this. So, yeah, that was a few years ago.
I feel like it's still, like, very rooted in today's society, though.
It is. It's because they don't know, so they need to be educated, too. Like, I think the blanket exercise was really good for that.
What was that?
You haven't done the blanket exercise yet?
I don't think I've done the blanket.
Okay, when we're going to be having it here.
Yeah.
You should do it, because it talks about residential schools. It talks about women losing their status. It talks about the land that we lost, where they put us on Indian reservations. Like, once we were all over the world, like all the land, and then slowly they just started taking it away, and then we were put on reservations.
Yes.
Yeah. And then they talk about the adoptions, like taking Aboriginal children from their homes and from their moms, right from the hospital and stuff.
Wow, I never even knew about that either.
Oh, yeah. I met a fella, and I was out west, and I met this fella, and he was adopted out to a British family. And they believed that, actually, the family that adopted him were told that his mother had died.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Did they get something out of adopting these Aboriginal children? Did they get their royalties or something?
Well, there wouldn't be that.
Not back then.
Yeah, it's not. That's not everywhere.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so this one. Are there any ways you can think of to fight for our rights in a non-violent way? And then that's kind of like the Every Child Matter movement, but the blanket exercise sounds like a good way to fight for our rights, especially those women who did lose their status.
Yeah.
Because they married a white man, but the white woman gained status when they married an Indigenous man.
In 1985. Yeah. And I think, too, if we just, like you said, education, we need to educate our allies. Because I feel that once, like, you can see it now, even after they started finding the bodies and stuff. You can see all the people coming forward because they didn't know this stuff, right? Like, even like, so if you ever do the blanket exercise, which I promote, we're going to do it here sometime soon, but that opens, like, because we did it with public health, we did it with different schools, and, and the people, these are adults, they were in tears because they didn't know, right? Because it's still with them too. It's from their intergenerational, right? So they get their biases and stuff too from grandparents to parents, right? So they get the intergenerational. I call it ignorance, like
Yeah.
because it's the unknown, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Christianity and indigenous people? Like indigenous people who are Christian, like it's not wrong, but like
Yeah, I
do you think it's just because they try to assimilate them so hard that they actually did accomplish their mission?
No, we're still here, right? And we're still fighting for our culture. It's just, I guess it's just, I'm gonna stay unbiased to that. Yeah, I guess we all have a choice to which way we want to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
And personally, I prefer the cultural, the indigenous teachings and stuff as a creator. And so my God, or the God, is the creator to me.
Yeah. Glooskap?
Loose cap.
Yeah. What else was I gonna say? Oh, was there anything you wanted to add, or just
No, I'm
any insight? You're good. Okay, we'll leave.